Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the mining vessel New Haven, watching the stars through the main window. The ship was old but reliable, just like most human vessels in the galaxy. For over 200 years, humans had been part of the Galactic Federation, but they were never the important ones. They fixed machines, dug up metals from asteroids, and did the dirty work that other species found beneath them. Jake didn't mind the work. Mining was honest labor, and it paid well enough to support the colonies back on Earth and Mars. His crew of 30 humans worked the outer rim of the galaxy, far from the fancy Federation worlds where the real decisions were made. Out here, nobody cared that humans couldn't read minds like the Etherians or turn into pure energy like the Luminari. They just wanted the rare metals that kept their advanced technology running. Dr. Lisa Park was different from most Federation scientists. She actually seemed interested in humans as more than just workers. The xenobiologist had been studying human behavior for months, riding along on mining ships and asking endless questions about how humans thought and acted. Most of Jake's crew found her annoying, but Jake thought she was genuinely curious about their species. "Captain Morrison," Dr. Park said, walking onto the bridge with her data pad in hand, "I've been analyzing the psychological profiles of your crew. Humans show remarkable stress tolerance compared to other Federation species." Jake shrugged. "We're used to hard work and bad situations. Comes with the territory. But it's more than that," Dr. Park continued. "Your species shows an unusual ability to function under extreme pressure. Most telepathic races become overwhelmed when faced with chaotic situations. Humans seem to thrive in them." Before Jake could respond, the communication system crackled to life. The voice belonged to Admiral Frank Stone, one of the few humans who had made it to a high rank in the Federation Navy. "All vessels in Sector 7, this is Admiral Stone. We have reports of unknown contacts moving in from the Galactic Rim. All civilian ships are ordered to avoid the outer systems until further notice." Jake frowned. The outer systems were where they did most of their mining. Unknown contacts usually meant pirates or smugglers, but Admiral Stone sounded worried about something bigger. "Computer, open a channel to Admiral Stone," Jake ordered. The Admiral's weathered face appeared on the screen. Frank Stone had served the Federation for 40 years, fighting in border skirmishes and keeping the peace in distant systems. Jake had never seen him look so concerned. "Jake, good to see you," Admiral Stone said. "How far out are you?" "About 3 days from Kepler 442b. We were planning to start mining operations there next week." Admiral Stone's expression darkened. "Change of plans. Get your people and get out of there now. We've lost contact with 3 Federation outposts in the last 6 hours. Something big is moving in from the rim." Dr. Park stepped forward. "Admiral, what kind of ships are we talking about? Pirate fleets? A rogue Federation faction?" "We don't know, Doctor. The few reports we got before losing contact described ships unlike anything in our databases. Large, dark, and moving in perfect formation. They don't respond to communication attempts." Jake felt a cold knot form in his stomach. In 30 years of mining the outer rim, he had never heard Admiral Stone sound scared. If something worried a veteran like Stone, it was serious. "We'll head back to the inner systems immediately," Jake said. "Good. And Jake, if you see anything unusual, don't try to be a hero. Run first, ask questions later." The communication ended, leaving the bridge in uncomfortable silence. Jake turned to his navigation officer, a young woman named Maya Bell who had transferred from the Federation Tactical Division to learn mining operations. "Maya, plot a course back to Federation space. Best speed." "Already on it, Captain," Maya replied, her fingers dancing over the control panel. "We can be at the nearest Federation station in 2 days if we push the engines." Dr. Park was studying her datapad with a worried expression. "Captain, I'm seeing some disturbing patterns in the Federation communication networks. 3 more outposts have gone silent in the last hour." Jake walked over to the main display screen and called up a map of their sector. Red dots marked the locations of the lost outposts. They formed a rough line moving inward from the Galactic Rim toward the populated Federation worlds. "They're not random attacks," Maya observed. "Someone is moving systematically through our territory." "Or something," Dr. Park added quietly. The New Haven jumped to faster-than-light speed, racing away from the mining site toward safety. Jake hoped they were just being cautious, but his instincts told him something terrible was happening on the rim. 2 hours later, they received a distress signal from Kepler 442b, the very system they had been planning to mine. The signal was weak and filled with static, but the message was clear enough. This is Mining Station Beta 7. We are under attack by unknown vessels. They're not responding to surrender offers. The ships are massive, dark-colored, and they're using weapons we've never seen before. Our shields are failing. They're cutting through our defenses like they're not even there. If anyone receives this message, warn the Federation. These things aren't pirates or rebels. They're something else entirely. Something ancient. Oh God, they're breaking through the hull. We're going to try to evacuate, but I don't think we're going to make it. Tell our families we... The signal cut off abruptly. Jake stared at the communication panel, feeling sick. Beta 7 had over 300 people working there, including families with children. If the station had been destroyed, it would be the largest loss of human life in decades. Captain, Maya said quietly, I'm picking up long-range sensor contacts near Kepler 442b. Multiple large vessels, moving in formation toward the inner systems. How large? Jake asked. Maya checked her readings twice before answering. Each one is at least 5 times the size of a Federation battleship. And there are dozens of them. Dr. Park was frantically typing on her datapad, sending messages to Federation Command. I'm trying to relay all our sensor data to Admiral Stone. The Federation needs to know what they're facing. Jake activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We are returning to Federation space immediately due to a potential threat in the outer systems. All crew report to emergency stations and prepare for extended, faster-than-light travel. As the New Haven raced toward safety, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were running from something far worse than pirates or rebels. The systematic destruction of Federation outposts, the massive ships, and the complete failure of communication attempts suggested they were facing an enemy unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Behind them, the stars seemed darker somehow, as if something vast and terrible was moving through the void, bringing death to everything in its path. Jake only hoped they could reach the inner systems in time to warn the Federation about what was coming. Whatever was out there had just announced its presence with the destruction of an entire mining station. And somehow Jake knew this was only the beginning. The Federation Council chamber had never felt so empty. Admiral Frank Stone stood before the curved table, where representatives of 12 alien species usually debated trade agreements and mining rights. Today, only half the seats were filled. The others belonged to species whose homeworlds had gone silent in the past week. The Etherian representative, a tall being with pale blue skin and large dark eyes, spoke in the telepathic whisper that all of her kind used. Admiral Stone, our fleets have engaged the enemy 3 times. Each battle lasted less than an hour before our ships were destroyed or forced to retreat. Commander Zara of the Luminari flickered between her solid and energy forms, a sign of extreme stress among her people. Our energy weapons have no effect on their hull plating. Our shields collapse within minutes of their attack. How is this possible? Admiral Stone looked tired and older than his 60 years. We're facing an enemy that seems designed to counter everything the Federation has built over the last 1,000 years. But there might be something they didn't plan for. Dr. Lisa Park stepped forward, carrying a datapad filled with analysis from the recent battles. She had barely slept since arriving at Federation headquarters, spending every hour studying the combat footage and sensor readings from the destroyed fleets. I've been analyzing the attack patterns and weapon signatures, Dr. Park began. The enemy ships, which we're calling Void Hunters, show remarkable adaptability. Their technology specifically counters telepathic attacks, energy-based weapons, and the advanced shielding systems used by most Federation species. The Nexari representative, a crystalline being whose body reflected light in beautiful patterns, spoke in musical tones. Then how do we fight them? Our most powerful weapons are useless. Dr. Park glanced at Admiral Stone before continuing. That's where it gets interesting. The Void Hunters seem calibrated for fighting the advanced civilizations that existed 1,000 years ago, but they're not prepared for something they consider primitive. Explain, demanded the Etherian representative. Humans never developed the same level of psychic abilities as other species. We never mastered energy manipulation like the Luminari, or built crystal-based technology like the Nexari. Instead, we kept using kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, and nuclear technology that most species abandoned centuries ago. Admiral Stone activated a holographic display showing human ships alongside Federation vessels. Our weapons might seem crude to you, but they're based on entirely different principles than what the Void Hunters are designed to counter. Commander Maya Bell, who had been studying tactical reports at a side console, looked up with excitement. Captain Morrison's mining ship detected something unusual. During their escape from Kepler 442b, the Void Hunter ships completely ignored them until they got within weapons range of a Federation patrol ship. Ignored them? The Luminary representative asked. The Void Hunters didn't even target them, Maya explained. It's like their sensors don't register human ships as threats. They're programmed to focus on advanced energy signatures and psychic emanations. Dr. Park nodded eagerly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Human thoughts are chaotic and unpredictable compared to other species. Most telepathic races find human minds difficult to read because we don't think in the organized patterns they're used to. The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. The Etherian representative spoke first, her mental voice carrying disbelief. You're suggesting that the most primitive species in the Federation might be our best defense against this threat? Admiral Stone straightened his shoulders. I'm suggesting that what you call primitive might be exactly what we need. Human weapons work on simple kinetic energy and chemical reactions. Our tactical thinking is unpredictable. And apparently, we're nearly invisible to their targeting systems. Captain Jake Morrison chose that moment to arrive at the council chamber, still wearing his mining uniform and looking exhausted from the rushed journey to Federation headquarters. He had brought video records from his ship's sensors during the evacuation from Kepler 442b. Captain Morrison, Admiral Stone said, please show the council what you recorded. Jake activated his data recorder, and a three-dimensional image appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed the massive Void Hunter ships moving through space like dark predators. Their hulls were angular and black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Energy weapons from Federation ships struck their armor and simply disappeared, as if the darkness swallowed them completely. Our sensors couldn't get solid readings on their ship composition, Jake explained. But we did notice something strange. When we fired our emergency flare rockets to signal other ships, the Void Hunters actually changed course to avoid them. Flare rockets? The Nexari representative asked. Simple chemical rockets with bright-burning fuel, Maya Bell explained. We use them for emergency signals. They're about as basic as human technology gets. Dr. Park was practically vibrating with excitement. Don't you see? The Void Hunters are programmed to counter advanced technology. They can absorb energy weapons and resist psychic attacks, but they might be vulnerable to simple kinetic force and chemical explosives. The Etherian representative looked skeptical. You want us to fight with primitive weapons? Not primitive, Admiral Stone corrected. Different. Human weapons evolved along a completely different path than Federation technology. The Void Hunters had no reason to develop defenses against weapons they thought were obsolete. Jake pulled up another recording, this one showing a Federation patrol ship being destroyed by Void Hunter weapons. Look at how they target. They go straight for the main energy core and communication arrays. They're fighting the kind of ships they expected to face. But human ships don't have the same energy signatures, Maya added. Our fusion reactors are smaller and shielded differently. Our weapon systems are based on magnetic acceleration and chemical propellants instead of pure energy. The council members looked at each other uncertainly. The idea that humanity, the species they had always considered useful but unremarkable, might be their salvation was difficult to accept. Dr. Park stepped forward with her final piece of evidence. I've run computer simulations based on the combat data. A human vessel using kinetic projectiles and nuclear warheads would have a 70% chance of penetrating Void Hunter defenses. That's better odds than any Federation fleet has achieved. Admiral Stone looked around the chamber at the alien representatives who had always seen humans as junior partners in the Federation. We're not asking to take over the war effort. We're offering to help in the only way we can. Give us a chance to prove that sometimes the best solution is the one nobody expects. The Etherian representative closed her large dark eyes and communicated telepathically with her government for several minutes. When she opened them again, her mental voice carried resignation and hope in equal measure. The Etherian Council authorizes human military participation in Federation defense operations. We will provide support and resources. One by one, the other species agreed. The Luminari would share their faster-than-light technology. The Nexari would provide advanced materials. The surviving Federation worlds would open their shipyards to human vessels. As the council session ended, Admiral Stone felt a mixture of pride and terror. Humanity was about to face the greatest military challenge in galactic history, but for the first time since the Void Hunters appeared, the Federation had reason to hope. Captain Morrison approached Admiral Stone as the alien representatives filed out of the chamber. Sir, with respect, we're miners and engineers. We're not soldiers. Admiral Stone put a hand on Jake's shoulder. Maybe that's exactly what we need to be. The asteroid mining platform Delta 9 had never been so busy. Captain Danny Cross watched hundreds of workers crawling over the massive structure, like ants on a metal hill. What had been a simple mining operation 3 weeks ago was now becoming the largest weapons factory in human space. Danny, we need those railgun mounts finished by tomorrow, called out Engineer Kelly White as she climbed up from the platform's lower levels. Her coveralls were stained with grease and metal shavings, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. Kelly, we're working as fast as we can, Danny replied, wiping sweat from his forehead. Converting mining equipment into weapons isn't exactly what we trained for. All across human space, the same scene was playing out. Admiral Stone had given them unlimited authority to convert every ship, station, and piece of equipment into something that could fight. Mining platforms became weapon batteries. Cargo ships turned into missile carriers. Even the old colony ships that had brought humans to distant worlds were being fitted with armor and guns. Commander Ryan Clark stood in the main hangar of the converted transport ship Iron Will, watching alien and human engineers work side by side for the first time in Federation history. The Luminari had shared their faster-than-light drive technology, allowing human ships to move as quickly as any Federation vessel. The Nexari provided advanced materials that could be shaped into armor plating stronger than anything humans had built before. This is remarkable, said Dr. Amy Foster, a human scientist who was working with a team of Federation researchers. We're combining human metallurgy with alien materials to create armor that's both flexible and incredibly strong. Ryan nodded as he watched a team install the new plating on a converted mining ship. The question is whether it will be enough. The Void Hunters have destroyed everything the Federation has thrown at them so far. But they haven't faced human tactics yet, Amy replied. I've been studying the combat reports, and every Federation battle followed predictable patterns. Organized formations, coordinated energy weapon attacks, and retreat when shields failed. Humans don't fight like that. She was right. Human military doctrine had always been different from other species. Where aliens relied on superior technology and coordinated telepathic commands, humans used chaos, surprise, and tactics that seemed crazy to more logical minds. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the shipyard where his old mining vessel New Haven was being transformed. The familiar ship now bristled with missile launchers and kinetic weapons. The cargo holds had been converted to carry nuclear warheads, and the mining laser had been replaced with a massive railgun that could punch through several meters of armor. She doesn't look like much, said Commander Maya Bell, who had been assigned as his tactical officer, but she might be exactly what we need. Maya had been working with teams of human and alien engineers to develop new fighting techniques. The Federation had always fought battles like chess games, with careful moves and strategic planning. Humans preferred to fight like a bar brawl, using whatever was available and changing tactics every few minutes. The aliens think we're crazy, Jake said, watching workers install armor plating around the bridge. Maybe they're right. Crazy might be our biggest advantage, Maya replied. I've been analyzing Void Hunter battle patterns. They adapt to enemy tactics within minutes. But how do you adapt to an enemy that doesn't follow any pattern at all? The real test came sooner than anyone expected. Long-range sensors detected a Void Hunter fleet moving toward New Geneva, one of the Federation's most important industrial worlds. The planet produced the advanced electronics that kept Federation civilization running. If it fell, the remaining worlds would be cut off from vital supplies. Admiral Stone gathered his commanders aboard the converted colony ship Terra's Hammer, which now served as the flagship of the human fleet. The ship was enormous, originally designed to carry 50,000 colonists and all their equipment to new worlds. Now it carried weapons that could destroy entire fleets. We have 18 hours before the Void Hunters reach New Geneva, Admiral Stone announced to the mixed group of human and alien officers. This will be our first real test. Everything we've built, everything we've planned, comes down to this battle. Captain Morrison looked around the briefing room at the faces of people who had been miners, engineers, and cargo haulers just a month ago. Now they were the Federation's last hope against an enemy that had destroyed every professional military force sent against them. "Sir, what if we're wrong?" asked Captain Grace Miller, who commanded one of the converted cargo ships. "What if our weapons don't work any better than Federation technology?" Admiral Stone was quiet for a moment before answering. "Then we'll die fighting, and hopefully buy enough time for the evacuation fleets to get the civilians away from New Geneva." The human fleet that jumped toward New Geneva was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of the sleek, elegant ships that Federation species preferred, the human vessels looked rough and dangerous. They were covered in extra armor plating, weapons mounted wherever they would fit, and sensor arrays that had been modified to track targets in ways that confused alien crews. Dr. Lisa Park was aboard the Terra's Hammer, serving as an advisor on Void Hunter behavior. She had studied every piece of data from previous battles, looking for weaknesses that the Federation might have missed. "Admiral," she said as they approached the New Geneva system, "I think I understand why the Void Hunters are so effective. They're not just weapons. They're a learning system that was designed to fight the galaxy's dominant civilizations, but they were programmed based on data from 1,000 years ago." "What does that mean for us?" Admiral Stone asked. "It means they know everything about energy weapons, psychic attacks, and organized battle tactics. But they might not know how to handle kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, and the kind of chaotic fighting that humans do naturally." The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Geneva system. Immediately, their sensors detected the Void Hunter fleet, 12 massive ships moving in perfect formation toward the planet. Federation defense stations were already firing at them, but their energy weapons were having no effect. "All ships, this is Admiral Stone," the Admiral announced over the communication system. "Remember, we're not trying to outthink them or outgun them. We're going to outcrazy them. Every ship attacks independently. No formation flying. Hit them with everything we have and keep moving." Captain Morrison felt his heart pounding as the New Haven accelerated toward the enemy fleet. Behind him, dozens of converted human ships followed, each one a unique combination of mining equipment, cargo haulers, and weapons that no military academy had ever taught students to use. "Maya, are you ready?" Jake asked his tactical officer. Maya Bell smiled grimly as she activated the ship's weapon systems. "Let's show these things what happens when humans get angry." The battle for New Geneva was about to begin, and for the first time since the Void Hunters appeared, the Federation had reason to hope that their dark ships might finally meet their match. The first human warship to engage the Void Hunters was Captain Jake Morrison's New Haven. The converted mining vessel screamed through space at full speed, its hull glowing from the heat of maximum engine burn. Behind it, the Void Hunter ships hung in space like dark metal predators, their weapons charging with deadly energy. "All power to forward shields," Maya Bell shouted over the roar of overworked engines. "Jake, their targeting systems are trying to lock onto us, but something's wrong with their sensors." Jake gripped his command chair as the ship shook from the strain of combat acceleration. "What do you mean wrong?" "They keep losing our signal. It's like they can't figure out what we are." The answer came when the New Haven opened fire. Instead of the focused energy beams that Federation ships used, Jake's vessel launched a spread of kinetic projectiles and nuclear-tipped missiles. The Void Hunter ship they targeted tried to absorb the incoming fire like it had done with every Federation attack. The nuclear warheads punched straight through its dark armor. "Direct hit," Maya screamed with excitement. "Their hull is breached in 3 sections." Across the battlefield, other human ships were discovering the same thing. The weapons that alien species had abandoned as primitive were tearing through Void Hunter defenses like they were made of paper. Captain Danny Cross's converted mining platform launched chunks of asteroid rock at incredible speeds, turning simple mining equipment into devastating kinetic weapons. But the Void Hunters were learning. Within minutes of the first successful human attacks, the enemy ships began adapting their tactics. They started targeting human vessels with the same intensity they had reserved for Federation battleships. "Incoming fire," Maya warned as energy beams lanced toward the New Haven. Jake threw his ship into a spinning dive that would have made any Federation pilot sick. Human ships weren't designed for elegant maneuvers. They were built to survive asteroid collisions and solar storms. The crazy flying that seemed impossible to other species was just another day at work for human crews. The energy beam missed by less than 50 meters. Admiral Stone watched the battle from the Terra's hammer, his massive converted colony ship hanging back to coordinate the human fleet. The early success was encouraging, but he could see the Void Hunters beginning to counter human tactics just like they had countered everything else. "Sir, we're getting reports from all ships," Commander Ryan Clark announced. "Initial strikes were successful, but the enemy is adapting faster than we expected." "Then we adapt faster," Admiral Stone replied. "Send the signal for Random Attack Pattern 7. Random Attack Pattern 7 wasn't really a pattern at all. It was organized chaos with each ship captain free to attack however they thought best. No coordination, no formation flying, and no predictable tactics. It was the kind of strategy that would get a Federation officer court-martialed. But it was exactly what human crews did naturally. Captain Alex Turner led a squadron of converted cargo ships in what he called a Crazy Ivan maneuver, suddenly reversing direction and firing missiles backward while flying away from the enemy. The Void Hunter ships, expecting him to continue his attack run, found themselves caught completely off guard. Captain Grace Miller took her stealth reconnaissance ship into an asteroid field and started using the floating rocks as cover. Her ship would pop out from behind an asteroid, fire a spread of kinetic projectiles, then disappear again before the Void Hunters could return fire. The battle turned into something the galaxy had never seen before. Human ships fought like wild animals, using every dirty trick and desperate maneuver their crews could think of. They rammed enemy vessels when their weapons ran out of ammunition. They used debris as weapons, launching chunks of destroyed ships at enemy targets. They even used their own damaged ships as guided missiles, with crews evacuating at the last second before impact. Jake Morrison found himself facing off against the largest Void Hunter ship in the enemy fleet. The New Haven was damaged and running low on ammunition, but Jake had one last idea. "Maya, what's our engine core output at maximum burn?" Maya checked her readings and went pale. "Jake, if we push the engines past safety limits, the fusion reaction could go critical. That's what I'm counting on. Plot a ramming course for that big ship's command section." "Jake, that's suicide." "Maybe. But if we can take out their command ship, the rest might retreat." The New Haven turned toward the massive Void Hunter vessel and began accelerating. Every human ship in the fleet watched as the little mining vessel, scarred and smoking from battle damage, charged straight at an enemy ship 10 times its size. The Void Hunters fired everything they had at the approaching human ship. Energy beams and dark matter weapons lit up space around the New Haven. But Jake kept the ship dancing through the incoming fire, with the skill of someone who had spent 30 years navigating asteroid fields. 30 seconds to impact, Maya announced, her voice steady despite the terror in her eyes. "All hands, abandon ship," Jake ordered over the communication system. "Maya, get to the escape pods." "I'm staying with you," Maya replied firmly. "Like hell you are. Someone needs to tell the story of how we beat these things." Maya hesitated for a moment, then grabbed Jake's shoulder. "It's been an honor serving with you, Captain." She ran for the escape pods as the New Haven closed the final distance to the Void Hunter command ship. Jake watched his crew evacuate, then turned back to his controls. He had spent his whole life flying ships through dangerous space. This was just one more navigation problem to solve. The New Haven struck the Void Hunter ship just forward of its main weapon array. The collision triggered a cascade failure in both ships' power systems. The explosion could be seen from 3 star systems away. When the light faded, the massive Void Hunter command ship was breaking apart. Its dark hull split open like a cracked egg. The remaining Void Hunter ships suddenly stopped their coordinated attacks and began retreating toward the edge of the system. Admiral Stone stared at the tactical display in amazement. "They're withdrawing. The Void Hunters are actually retreating." Dr. Lisa Park looked up from her analysis station with tears in her eyes. The command ship controlled their tactical coordination. Without it, they can't adapt to new threats fast enough. The battle for New Geneva was won, but the cost had been terrible. Nearly half the human fleet was destroyed or badly damaged. Hundreds of crews had made the ultimate sacrifice, following Jake Morrison's example by using their ships as weapons when conventional attacks failed. But for the first time since the Void Hunters appeared, they had been defeated. The galaxy's most advanced enemy had been beaten by converted mining ships, cargo haulers, and crews who had learned to fight in the emptiness between stars. Commander Maya Bell floated in her escape pod, watching the debris field that had once been the New Haven. Jake Morrison's sacrifice had saved New Geneva, and proven that the Void Hunters could be beaten. Now humanity knew they could win. The question was whether they could do it again before the enemy learned to counter their tactics permanently. The war was far from over, but the tide had finally begun to turn. The edge of known space had never seen so many ships in one place. Admiral Frank Stone stood on the bridge of the Terra's Hammer, looking out at the largest fleet in galactic history. Human vessels floated alongside Etherian light cruisers, Luminari energy ships, and Nexari crystal battleships. For the first time, every species in the Federation was fighting as equals. 6 months had passed since the victory at New Geneva. The Void Hunters had retreated to the galactic rim, but long-range sensors showed they were building something massive around an ancient structure that predated any known civilization. Dr. Lisa Park believed it was a shipyard that had been constructing Void Hunter fleets for thousands of years. "Admiral, we're receiving final check-ins from all fleet commanders," reported Commander Maya Bell, who now served as Stone's chief tactical officer. She had survived Jake Morrison's sacrifice and carried his memory with her into every battle. "How many ships do we have?" Stone asked. 2,400 vessels. About half are human ships, the rest are Federation allies. "It's everything we have left," Stone nodded grimly. The fleet represented the combined military might of 12 species, but it had come at a terrible cost. Earth itself had been evacuated, its population scattered to colonies throughout human space. Mars was now a weapons factory working around the clock. Every human world had given up everything for this final battle. Captain Eric Davis commanded the human bomber wing from his converted cargo hauler Steel Rain. His squadron of 50 ships carried the most destructive weapons humanity had ever built, nuclear warheads enhanced with alien technology and kinetic penetrators that could punch through any known armor. "All bomber crews, this is Davis," he announced over the communication system. "Remember, we only get one shot at this. The Void Hunter shipyard is our target. Everything else is just keeping us alive long enough to reach it." The enemy fleet waiting for them was unlike anything they had faced before. Hundreds of Void Hunter ships surrounded the massive shipyard like guard dogs protecting their master. The shipyard itself was enormous, easily the size of a small moon, with construction bays that could build a dozen ships at once. Commander Ryan Clark led the human fighter squadrons in their attack approach. His pilots flew ships that looked more like racing cars than military fighters, built for speed and maneuverability rather than heavy armor. They would have to get close to the enemy ships and stay alive long enough for the bombers to reach their target. "All fighters, remember what Jake Morrison taught us," Ryan announced. "Don't fight fair. Don't fight smart. Fight like humans." Dr. Amy Foster monitored the battle from the Terra's Hammer's science station, analyzing Void Hunter behavior patterns in real time. The enemy had learned much from their previous defeats, but humanity had learned too. Both sides had adapted, but only one could win. "Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the Void Hunter fleet," Amy reported. "They're preparing to fire everything they have at us." "All ships evasive maneuvers," Stone ordered. "Remember, we don't need to defeat their entire fleet. We just need to reach the shipyard." The battle began with the largest energy weapon exchange in galactic history. Void Hunter ships fired beams of pure darkness that could destroy any normal vessel in seconds. Federation ships responded with energy weapons that lit up space like artificial stars. But it was the human ships that made the difference. Captain Danny Cross's mining platform had been converted into a mobile fortress bristling with kinetic weapons. Instead of trying to match the alien ship's firepower, he used tactics learned from asteroid mining. His platform fired chunks of metal at incredible speeds, turning simple mining techniques into devastating weapons. Captain Grace Miller led her stealth ships through the enemy formation like ghosts, appearing suddenly to launch missile strikes before vanishing again. The Void Hunters, designed to fight conventional fleets, couldn't adapt fast enough to track ships that fought like pirates and smugglers. But the enemy was learning. Void Hunter ships began using new tactics, coordinating their attacks in ways they had never done before. They started targeting human ships specifically, recognizing them as the greatest threat to their survival. "We're losing too many ships," Maya Bell reported as explosion after explosion lit up the tactical display. "At this rate, the bomber wing won't make it to the target." Admiral Stone made the decision that would define the rest of the battle. "All ships full attack. Every vessel charges the shipyard. Don't worry about formations or tactics. Just get our bombers through. What followed was the most chaotic battle in galactic history. Human ships broke every rule of space warfare, using ramming attacks, improvised weapons, and tactics that seemed completely insane to any logical observer. Cargo ships loaded with explosives flew straight into enemy formations. Mining vessels used their cutting lasers as weapons. Even civilian transports joined the attack, their crews determined to do whatever they could to help. Captain Davis pushed his bomber wing through the chaos, watching his fellow humans sacrifice themselves to clear a path to the target. The steel rain shook under enemy fire, but Davis kept flying toward the massive shipyard that filled his view screen. "Bombers, this is it," Davis announced. "Target the main power core at the shipyard center. If we can destroy that, the whole structure goes down." The final attack run was a nightmare of enemy fire and dying ships. Human bombers flew through storms of energy weapons and dark matter projectiles, many of them not making it more than halfway to the target. But those who survived reached the shipyard and launched their weapons. Nuclear warheads enhanced with Federation technology struck the shipyard's power core in a synchronized attack. The explosion that followed was visible from neighboring star systems, a brilliant flash of light that marked the end of the Void Hunter threat. When the light faded, the ancient shipyard was gone. The surviving Void Hunter ships, cut off from their source of reinforcements and coordination, began shutting down one by one. Their dark hulls went silent as their crews entered some kind of hibernation state. Admiral Stone looked out at the debris field that had once been the largest fleet ever assembled. 3/4 of the human ships were gone, along with thousands of brave crews who had given their lives for the galaxy's freedom, but they had won. The Void Hunters were defeated, their ancient shipyard destroyed, and their remaining ships powerless. The galaxy was safe. Commander Maya Bell approached Admiral Stone with tears in her eyes. "Sir, what do we do now?" Stone was quiet for a long moment, thinking about Jake Morrison and all the others who had died to reach this moment. "Now we go home and rebuild, and we make sure the galaxy never forgets what happened here." Years later, children throughout the Federation would learn about the human miners and cargo haulers who had saved galactic civilization. They would hear stories of Jake Morrison's sacrifice, of Admiral Stone's leadership, and of the ordinary people who had done extraordinary things when hope was lost. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the greatest heroes come from the most unexpected places. And humanity, once dismissed as primitive and unremarkable, would never be underestimated again. In the end, when the fire burned brightest, it was human courage that lit the way to victory.